Do you have your exit plan? Are you gonna die? Are you gonna sell? Are you gonna refinance? Everybody talks about getting into property, but how do we get out? As you know, if you've been watching my videos, I am very much into death being my exit opportunity from property. But as I was saying the other day, there's always a number where I would even exit, right? If somebody offered me 40% on top for my property portfolio, maybe I would sell, only to then utilize the money and buy more of the buggers straight away. But here's the thing. Everybody assumes everything's going to go right. What if everything goes wrong? Is there a point where I need to exit and cut my losses? If it goes up an overwhelming amount, do I cut my wins and exit at that point? And that's exactly what we need to be breaking down. The way that we need to understand is that if you fail to prepare, then prepare to fail. Your ultimate goal of exiting is going to be very dependent on what you actually want from property in the first place. Naturally, if you are doing a flip where you are buying, refurbishing and selling the property, it's a pretty obvious exit. Or is it? And we'll look at that in a moment. It could be you're looking for the long term where actually you're looking to retire from your portfolio. So maybe your exit plan is a certain valuation. Or indeed, your exit is legacy or death, and actually you're just trying to keep the family name going as strong as possible, which maybe there won't even be an exit. And the more prepared we can be around this, the more successful we're going to be. So let's look at the short-term exits. So this brings us on to flips. Now, obviously, the actual exit from a flip is buy, refurbish, and sell it on most of the time. But what a lot of people don't do is think about what if it doesn't come to fruition. For example, if you put your money in and it's going to make you 25 grand profit, and then you do your numbers at the end and actually you're going to end up making 15,000 pound profit, what do you do? So this is having your scenario A is obviously going to be really powerful, but what about B and C? What do you do in that situation? So what we're going to be doing when we're angling for this is going for, yes, the ideal opportunity is everything goes as well as possible. Obviously, if the property market increases in that time, you'll likely make more profit. But maybe you're going to want to consider refinancing to hold. So instead of buy, refurbish and sell, maybe you want to buy, refurbish and refinance. And then what I'd be considering is a 2-year hold on that. And whenever this has happened, and by the way, it will every now and then, I put a 2-year fixed on the mortgage that I'm refinancing on. And then I look at the market in 2 years' time, thinking to myself, is this the time to sell? The next thing is the medium hold. Now, the medium hold I call the value exit. For me, the value exit comes from a portfolio value or a residual income value. And this isn't so much about exiting, but maybe exiting the market rather than the individual property. Let me give you an example of this that you might not have heard of, and it's involving social housing. So what you can do is get in touch with a social housing provider and representative in your local area, find out what properties they're looking for, and then you buy properties, you rent them to social housing tenants, and then you get to a certain portfolio size, let's say 3 to 5 million, and then a pension company will buy the lot off of you at a reduced yield, which means that your £5 million portfolio that you've built up over time, they will buy a lot closer to £6 million worth of value. Crazy, I know, but that's why pension companies maybe don't make that much money. The other side of it is your passive income numbers. Now, let's say, for example, I want to retire. And in order to retire, I need to make £2,500 a month, which is more than enough for most people, unless the fuel prices keep on going up, to retire, right? So what we end up doing is you end up going, okay, let's say the average property is going to bring me £250 a month. I am going to target having 10 properties. Let's say the average property needs £50,000 of cash. I need to get 50,000 times the 10, £500,000 to start investing. Of course, you might not have that money, which is when you go into the finance raise. But the point of this video is that exit. So this is really where you are calibrating to your outcomes a lot. The reason this is important, not only in the portfolio, but business in general, is otherwise it's just more. It's just bigger. It's go, 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 go. When in fact, what we're trying to look at is creating that freedom in your life. So it's kind of a measuring stick. Now, some advice around this. If you need a X figure to retire, you want to times that by 1.5. So if you need £2,500 a month, which is £30,000 a year, after tax in order to retire, you want to be timesing that by 1.5 or 150%, which is £45,000 per annum after tax. Now you might go, oh, why can't I retire now? Well, listen, because if you want to retire forever, you need to take account of the fact that every now and then a couple of properties will be vacant. Or you're going to need to do a refurbishment. Where's the money going to come from? Or there's new legislation or tax changes that are going to impact it. And one thing I have in life and business is one thing I hate more than anything else is having to take a step backwards when you've just taken a step forward. Next is mitigating expenses and losses. This is really important and not something people think about. You need a point where you cut your loss. Now, it's very rare that you'd end up coming across a property where it's just fallen to shit, right? If you've done this, you've got educated, you followed the right steps, it's incredibly rare that you're going to get something wrong. But if you do, if you became a motivated buyer, if you overpaid for a property, or you bought a property that's in a terrible area and you keep on getting terrible tenants, you need to have your moment where you cut your loss. Honestly, losing a bit of money, 5 grand, 10 grand on a property is far better than wasting 5 to 10 years of your life on the wrong portfolio. I've done it myself. I got some terrible properties early doors, terrible properties, and the best thing I ever did is get them out of my portfolio, which is now an APG, Aspire Property Group. Myself and my clients, we only focus on the best areas to get the best tenants and best investments. But it's okay to fail. It's okay to get it wrong. It's okay to lose. That isn't what makes you a bad investor or landlord or business owner. What makes you stupid is ignoring the fact you made the mistake and almost putting your eyes out of glance to make sure you don't acknowledge it. Next is one of my favorite, death. That sounded really bad wording that, didn't it? What I mean is my exit plan is death. I just don't intend to ever sell my properties. The reason why is once you start accumulating wealth, it's not the asset value that I actually care about for my life. What I mean by that is, yes, it's the asset, say £1 million portfolio, that actually builds my net wealth, because you make most of your money on paper from the capital growth, right? So my £1 million portfolio becomes a 1.1 million. That's nice, but actually what's really exciting for me is the cash flow. So the cash flow pays for my lifestyle, and then I get more money in. Guess what I do? Buy more property, gives me cash flow. Buy more property, brings me cash flow. Buy more property, brings me cash flow. And the assets then pay a dividend, if you like, or a cash flow that pays for my life liabilities. But I don't ever intend to sell my portfolio unless I've got a redonkulous offer, and all I do then is sell it for the offer and then buy more property with it. You can see I'm a pretty straightforward, very simple, very boring guy, right? But the reason I really like this is it's just building wealth through time. And the younger you start, the more you're going to benefit. And the reason for this and why it's so easy is people go, what if there's a recession? Who cares if there's a recession? Okay. The easy way of thinking about this is I have a need to build my portfolio. I've got a need, an obsession. I don't know about you. I also need to eat every single week. Do you? Yeah. I go shopping but say I went shopping every week for my weekly food, and you need to eat every day. It's an obsession. You need to build it up, right? And then one week you go to Waitrose and they've got a 20% discount, and now you're going to get your £100 shop for £80. Are you going to start going, whoa, hold on a second? No, you're going to buy your shopping and be grateful for the discount. If you know at some point it's going to be £80, do you stop buying your weekly food at 100 because it might be £80 in a month? No, that's ridiculous. The great thing about being a long-term investor is I'm not trying to time the market. And as I always say, time in the market will always be time in the market. Now, there is a downside to death being my exit, apart from the fact that I'll exit when I'm dead, right? But before that, the downside is lack of actual money, which is where the final one comes in with my exit of Deal Packaging. You may not know this, but I've got my buy-to-let portfolio. I also own a deal packaging company where we make a decent amount of money on a monthly basis, enough for me to buy another 3 to 5 properties every single month. So when you are thinking longer term and you're thinking about your investments longer term, you need to think about your turnaround of money or the velocity of money short term. And the way that I do this is through deal packaging. When I'm going out there and I've got my team looking for all of these amazing deals, as much as it pains me to say it, I cannot buy every single one. So instead what I do is I buy the ones I can, and then the same criteria, we've got our investors that go, we want everything you're not buying. And then I will give it to them for a fee for finding and putting in that time and negotiating it, and then I'm able to reinvest and buy more property. So to wrap up this video, I think that before you even start in property, you should have the plan in place. And the more you plan, the more you will succeed. The more you can think of the end before the beginning, you will succeed. Now, obviously within this, get educated as well. If you want to get educated by me, you could put education in the comments, and I'll also put a link in there. This is if you're interested for paid for education to help you build your portfolio, get into deal packaging. And outside of that, what I'm interested in is what is your exit plan? Let me know in the comments. If it's been valuable, make sure to hit the like button. And if you're new to this particular channel, make sure to hit subscribe and the notification bell, and I'll see you in the next video.